In this video, we will be calculating percents mentally. Now, when we calculate percents mentally, we want to use this method with percentages that are easily to compute mentally. That's the goal. All right, so taking a look at this chart right here, okay, with this chart, this is going to give you some insight on the best way to compute these percentages mentally. So if it's 50%, you always want to know that that's half. You want to divide by 2. If it's 25%, which is 1/4, you want to divide by 4 because quarter, fourths, and is equivalent to 1/4. If it's 1% that you're trying to find, you're going to divide by 100 or move the decimal 2 spaces to the left. Now, when it comes to 30%, 40, 50, 40, you can use it with 52, 60, 70, 80, 90%, any of those percentages in between. What you want to do is you always want to find out what the 10% is. Okay, you find 10% by moving the decimal 1 space to the left. 1 space to the left. Once you find out what 10% is, if you want 40, you multiply it times 4. You want 60, you multiply it times 6, and so forth. And also, if you want 11%, you can also find 10%. And then you can find the 1%, which is by moving the decimal space to the left 2 units, and put those together, and that'll get you 11%. Let's go ahead and practice some of these. And hopefully before I write it down, you should be able to have at least some knowledge of what the answer may be, okay? Let's start by finding 50% of 40. So as you know, 50% is equivalent to 1/2. So we can divide by 2, and 50% of 40 is what? It is 20. Okay. What about finding 20% of 15? What do you think 10% is? Well, 10% is if I take this decimal point and move it 1 place to the left, that's 10%. So 10% is 1 and 5/10. That's what 10% is. So if you're looking to find 20%, remember the rule is once you find 10%, you can multiply it by whatever percent you're trying to find. And so in this case, I'll multiply it times 2. 1 decimal place, 1 decimal place, and the answer is simply 3. Okay? Hopefully you'll catch on here soon. What about this? So I want to find 25% of 36. Now, in order to find 25%, what do we start with? We start with 10%. What is 10% of 36? So 10% is when I move the decimal point 1 place to the left. That's 10%. Which would be 3 6/10. Now, to get to 25%, first I want to find out what 20% is, right? So I multiply 3 6/10 times 2. I can double 36 and 36 and get 72, right? Or 7 and 2/10. Okay, that's 20%. Now, remember what we said about 5%. 5% is half of 10. So half of 36 is 18, which is 1 8/10. Okay? And if I add those together, the 20% and the 5%, I'll end up with 9. What about 40% of 30? What is 10% of 30? Right? How many times am I going to move the decimal point? To the left or to the right? I'm going to move the decimal point to the left 1 unit. So 10% of 30, in my mind, I should be thinking that it's just 3. So to get to 40%, just like the rule stated, I find a 10% and multiply it by 4 to get 40%, and 3 times 4 is simply 12. So 40% of 30 is simply 12. Okay, take a look at this one. So in order to find 1%, right, 1%, I need to move the decimal place how many units to what in what direction? Okay, now I can divide by 100 or I can move the decimal 2 spaces to the left, which will give me the same. And 100 divided by 100 is simply 1. Okay? What about the number 21? It is an odd number, and yes, you can divide odd numbers, or you can also quickly compute those. So 10% of 30, I'm going to move it 1 unit to the left, is 2 1/10. To get to 30%, what do I multiply this 2 1/10 by? Yes, 3. How many units should be to the right of the decimal point? Just 1. So it's 6 3/10. All right, let's take a look at these last ones. What about 60% of 60? Now, there's different ways you could do it. You could find 10%, which is what? 6. And then take that and multiply it times 6, which will give me 36. Or I could take 50%, right, which is 30. And then I could take a 10%, which is 6, and get 36. Either way it goes. Once you start manipulating numbers, you should have a better idea on how to handle it. So 22. 10% is what? 2 2/10. Okay. Now, to get to 1%, how many times do I move the decimal place? I move it how many spaces to the left? 1% is going to be 2 decimal places. So if I move this 1, 2, the decimal is there. And I want to make sure that I line up my place values, right? Tenths with tenths, hundredths with hundredths, ones with ones. Right? So 11% of 22 is 2 42/100. Remember, whenever we want to compute percents mentally, we can decompose them starting with finding 10%. In this video, you all, we calculated percents mentally.